It's time for the show. That didn't really match up with the music. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Nimble Urban Survivor podcast. I'm your host, Nick Catelli. Hope you're having a good day, good month, good year, good whatever. Let's jump into it. This episode's topic comes from an email submission from Terry. Now, he wrote me like 2 long paragraphs, so I'm just going to summarize it. In today's episode, we're going to talk about how to survive esports. And if you're over the age of 52 and a quarter, the E stands for electronic. Esports. I had to look that up, actually. That's how old I am. I was like, what does that E stand for? Oh, electronics. What does that mean? That means video games. That's right. If you didn't know, video games are a sport now. And it's a really big industry, actually. The video game players have like agents and managers now, and they play in competitions, and they can win like millions of dollars. Like, it's insane to me. It's so funny because, back in the day, an athlete was like, they went to the gym, they practiced, they worked out, they worked their way up through the minor leagues. Now all you need is to rent out, your grandma's basement, get some Cheetos and some chocolatey ding-dongs, and pretty much just have enough money to buy a video game and just play it relentlessly. Boom, you're a professional athlete now. That's why I love America, because that's the loophole now in being a professional athlete without having to do all of the weightlifting. Boom, video games. I love it. But here's the thing. It's scary, though, because if we don't survive esports, a civil war is going to break out. And I'll tell you why. Because I'm a video game player. I love video games. I still play them to this day. I'm excited for when I can play my son and constantly beat him until he gets into like middle school and can beat me. But remember, I grew up in that like late 80s, 90s video game era. We're playing video games like you couldn't beat the games. Like, the games were impossible to beat. And I've never told anybody this, but I'm going to share this with you guys because I trust you. And I haven't even told my wife or my parents or anyone. But I have never actually beaten Mario 1, 2, or 3 on the Nintendo. I've never beaten any of those games. Ever. And as an old-timer gamer, all us old-time gamers, because we're probably in our like late 30s, 40s now, we remember like video games, it wasn't fun. Like, video games are always like, oh, it's fun to play video games at your arcade. No, it was very stressful because it was so hard to beat the games. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I broke a lot of controllers. I threw a lot of controllers at the TV, because it was just so stressful trying to beat these video games. And I feel like it wasn't until like Super Nintendo and Sega came out that they were like, all the video game developers were like, you know what? We should probably let these guys win these things because they're getting kind of angry. So a lot of us old-time gamers, such as myself, we have a chip on our shoulder because we had it really difficult. And these kids today, these new video game players, I mean, the games are beatable. You can put them on easy mode and beat the game within an hour. I don't think that's fair. And the old-timers don't think that's fair. So there's a civil war because you've got all these old-timer gamers who, want to tell these young-timer gamers, like, how difficult it was. And the young-timer gamers think that they're, the next up-and-coming cool, hip generation. And we're all just a bunch of, like, old dudes who need to be, drinking lemonade and just sticking to Super Mario. So what's going to happen? There's going to be a retaliation. There's going to be a civil war that's going to break out. And the old-time gamers are going to go up against the young-time gamers. And here's what's going to happen is, like, they're all going to get on the internet because that's how they play each other. They play each other online. Nobody actually, like, faces each other and plays each other. And then what's going to happen there is the internet is going to become so overloaded with this civil war video game thing that the internet's going to blow up, right? And then the whole planet of Earth is going to lose internet. We're going to be instantly disconnected because of, like, Call of Duty or Street Fighter or whatever. And then what's going to happen is they're going to rush, and the old-time gamers and the new-time gamers are all going to like be at this kind of like space race to get the internet up and running again. And what that's going to lead to is power outages everywhere. And eventually all of that energy that they're trying to use to keep the civil war going is going to blow up all of the circuit breakers on the planet. So now, not only did we lose the internet, we have been sent back to the dark ages without electricity, all because of an esports rivalry civil war. So my thing is, obviously for the Amish, this doesn't really affect them, or, people that don't use electricity, they're going to be fine. But people like me who like to use, microwaves and make pizzas in the oven, that's going to be difficult on me. But that's what's going to happen. If we don't survive esports, we're looking at a complete apocalyptic energy breakdown, and it's not going to be good. So how do we survive esports? And I guess this kind of goes for older people. And the analogy I would use is, think of it like this. Think of it like there's a football field that you used to play, tag football with your buddies, right? And as you got older, these young kids came in, aka the young gamers came to the field. They're playing football now, but they're disrespecting the field that you set up, the field that the old gamers paved the way for. And these new gamers are disrespecting it. So how do the old gamers get their field back and also set the tone that you need to respect the game and also respect the old-time gamers for paving the way and dealing with that early frustration of having to play unbeatable games? Okay. I think we have a pretty good process here. So step one is, obviously, if you try to be really good at Street Fighter or Call of Duty, it's not going to happen. It would take you years of practice, right? What do they say? The best way to get to Carnegie Hall is practice, practice, practice. Here's Nick Catelli's slogan. The express route to Carnegie Hall is cheat, cheat, cheat. Because cheat codes in video games go together like peanut butter and jelly, right? You got to have cheats. You can easily win the game. So step one is you need to get with a company that is developing the next big esports game. So if they're going to develop the next Call of Duty, you want to work for that company. So step one is you want to apply for a job at a video game company. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Nick, I don't have a background in video games. You don't need a background in video games. If it's anything I've learned from startup companies and video game companies, all they really want is someone who A, knows how to get coffee for everybody, and B, knows how to set up a kick-ass cereal bar. If you can do those two things, I'm 90 to 99% sure you're going to get hired for the video game company. And you're going to want to get in on being part of the new video game project, because now you're an inside man on this new esports, Call of Duty, whatever video game. Which leads to step two, which is help develop the code. As you know, the coding is what the actual game is made of. I don't know the technical terms. If anything, look up a YouTube video. They'll teach you what coding actually means. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're like, Nick, I'd have to go back to school and learn how to develop video games. I don't have that kind of time nor money. That's fine, because you're not going to do that. What you're going to do is you're going to find who the main developer of the game is, the main coder, and you're going to just want to, be friends with them. Be their best friend. Do whatever they want to do. Be an awesome friend. Now, I'm not telling you to seduce them or do any of that. Don't do that. But then again, I'm not telling you not to do it, if you know what I mean. So now you're an inside man on the game, and you're going to learn about and help design the ins and outs of the gameplay. You're going to know all of the hidden secrets, all of the cheats, all of the level ups, because you're pretty much going to design them for yourself. And remember to write these all down somewhere, and don't write these down on a computer, because someone could steal it. Just write it in an old-fashioned notebook. Use an old-timey device I like to call a pencil, and you're going to write down all these cheat codes, because you're going to need them for when you're playing the game. So you're developing the game, right? So what happens then is, after a game is developed, they need the voice actors. So this leads me to step 3, voice acting. You're going to want to tell your boss that you will do some voice acting for free on the video game. Now, if you're not a voiceover person, or if you're not a voiceover actor, there are some classes you can take on YouTube. You can hire a vocal coach. Might cost you a couple of $1,000s. But hey, what's more important? $1,000 for a vocal coach, or being able to be the ultimate old-timer gamer on esports. Yeah, you think about it. So now I know what you're thinking. You're like, why would I want to voice over characters in a video game? Because you're going to do the voice, but you're also going to put in some subliminal messages, okay? If you don't know what that is, it's like hidden little messages that your subconscious can actually hear. So if you're doing your voiceover acting for the character, you're also going to want to sneak into the recording booth a little tape recorder and put it on real faint and have like psychological sayings that make the opposing players a little bit more distracted. And it doesn't have to be anything like super over the top clever. It can be easy as just like the other gamers just constantly hear the word like fail, fail, you're going to fail. Mountain Dew is a terrible soda. You will lose this game. You know, psychological stuff that really makes them like get in their head more so they can't focus on the game. I guess the best example of that I can give is, you know, in stand-up comedy, when you really want to get into another stand-up's head, before they go on and do their set, you tell them like, hey, good luck. You know, and it seems like a really nice thing, but in reality, you're really trying to mess with their head and throw them off, you know, off tilt. That's kind of like what you're doing here in step 3, is you're putting these subliminal messages into your dialogue in the game. And the only way it's really going to work is you need to be able to voice tons and tons of the characters in the game. And that's step 3. So then up to this point, you've developed the game, you've developed the code, you've developed the cheat codes, you know the ins and outs, and you've put in the subliminal fail messages in your voiceover acting. So step 4 is the game is going to get released. And when it does, you know, all the young gamers are going to buy it and start practicing, and they'll start setting up, you know, competitions for it because it's going to be a huge game, right? So now you alone can't just play the game and beat everyone on the planet. It's too difficult. So what you're going to need to do, which is step 4, is you need to recruit an OG video game team. And you need to recruit players that are around the age of probably 34 and up. Don't go younger than 34. Definitely don't get anybody in their 20s. And you're going to want to include them and train them and teach them all the ins and outs and the cheat codes and everything. Because this is going to be your dream team, right? Because you guys, I guess my analogy would be, is you're like when Skynet went live in Terminator. Like you're just waiting to be released into the esports gaming world, and then all hell is going to break loose when you take control and crush those young gamers in their own game, or what they think is their own game. Your OG team is going to be like the 1990s dream team from the NBA in the Olympics. Remember, it was like Michael Jordan and Magic Johnson and all those guys, and they just like crushed all those other countries in basketball. I don't even understand why other countries even compete in basketball in the Olympics, because it's like the United States, I mean, like no competition there. And that's what you've developed here in step 4 is your OG dream team. And you guys at this point, obviously you're going to want to train all of them and tell them too, like if they have jobs and wives and careers and all that, they need to quit all that and focus on this, because remind them of that civil war that could possibly break out. So you guys are going to have to play and practice like there is no tomorrow, because there literally will be no tomorrow if you don't. At this point, you would think that this would be the end, right? You have your dream team, they're beating everybody. But let's remember, you know, the Oakland A's did the same thing. But that still doesn't guarantee a win when we get to the championship, right? So that kind of leads me to step 5, and I call this championship insurance. You need to find out who you're going to be playing up against, okay? And it's usually going to be some kid, probably in either middle school or like a freshman in high school, all right? And what you're going to need to do is, first of all, find out what school they go to and become a teacher at that school. Become a substitute teacher. Because it's easy to get hired as a substitute teacher, because schools are always dying for new substitute teachers, because, you know, the kids just like destroy them like there's no tomorrow. I will say, if you ever want to like build up your mental toughness, become a substitute teacher. Like it's the best thing for you if you want to become like mentally strong. So you're going to want to become a substitute teacher at this kid's school, and then just constantly write him up for detention. Really mess up with his education and make it so he has to do that classic thing where you can be like, well, it seems like little Billy has been spending too much time on video games and it's really getting in the way of his education. And you're going to have to tell the principal that that's how you feel about him. And then the principal will call his parents and so on. And they're going to be like, dude, you got to stop playing all these video games. It's really, interfering with your high school degree. And you need your high school degree, right? So that kid now isn't going to practice as much. So you're definitely going to have a leg up on him. His parents might even make him forfeit the competition. But a lot of parents are pretty greedy, and they're also stage parents, and they probably want the money, because that's how a lot of like parents are, is, little Billy makes $1 million and they give him like $20 and they keep the rest. So I'm 90% sure you're going to end up playing this kid, but you've already have like a psychological, thing over him. So you're probably going to win. Now, let's say, we get to this step and you've done all of this, but you still lose the final. Well, at this point, then you're going to want to go back to step one and start all over again and keep trying, right? But let's jump ahead to step 6, which is if you do win the championship and you win the money. Now, I know you're probably going to want to run off with the money, but you can't do that, right? You are going to want to make this like a political statement when you win. So it's kind of like in, if you've ever seen Rocky IV, where Rocky fights the Russian in Russia. And it's really funny because I remember like Rocky IV, it wasn't really about the boxing. It was kind of just like a Cold War propaganda movie, but it was really awesome. And then all of the Russians like get behind Rocky. So you have to think of yourself as Rocky, and all of the Russians are like these young gamers. So when you win, and you will win, you don't make it don't rub it in the young kids' faces. You have to have your Rocky IV Russian moment and talk about uniting the OG gamers and the young gamers. They have to be one. I'm not gonna lie, guys. I really think, I know a lot of people try to say that like Chernobyl was the cause of like the USSR, falling, but I really think it was Rocky IV, guys. I think Rocky IV really helped the relations between the Russians and the United States. So thank you, Sylvester Stallone. You were awesome for doing that, but you have to do that too. We have to, make a bridge so that there can be gamer peace and this Berlin Wall between the old and the young can be torn down and we can be united as one gamer front, all the way from ages kindergarten through retirement home. So the clear answer to how to survive esports is to unite all players as one. Individual, by God, something, I forget how the rest of the Pledge of Allegiance goes, but you guys know what I mean, right? So then how do we make sure that future youth generations of gaming don't fall into this? How do we make sure that 20 years from now, after this podcast has pretty much saved the world, like it always does, that we don't fall into this trap again? Well, it's easy. And I will set an example because I have a son. He's 2 years old. I'm not going to let him have like a PlayStation 10 or any of that advanced gaming stuff when he's in school. I'm going to force him to play old school Nintendo for probably the first 5 years of his gaming life. And I'm talking like Mario 1, Mario 2, Mario 3, those old school graphics. I want him to feel and go through that suffering and frustration of not being able to win. And in reality, I think that's really good for kids. I know nowadays with like sports and t-ball and stuff like that, everyone's a winner. I don't agree with that. I think there has to be winners and losers because that's the only way you're going to learn in life. And, if your t-ball coach is like everyone's a winner, well, go out, go on eBay, get yourself an old school Nintendo, have your son play that and have him constantly lose at Super Mario like I did. Because I was a huge video game loser and it just made me a stronger person. And look what it led me to. A podcast where I literally solve the world's problem and save the world pretty much every episode. And that's what it did for me. And that's what it can do for little Billy, little Sarah. I don't know your kids' names, but you guys get what I'm saying. We can save the world, and video games can teach us to lose and become stronger human beings. So surviving esports pretty much saves the human race and society. And guys, that's my time for today's episode. I know we got a little emotional today. I really like that. So guys, as always, as you know, if you have something you want to talk about or hear about on the show, you can contact me through my website at www.cutellicomedy.com. I'd love to hear from you. Guys, I know there are a ton of amazing podcasts out there that you can listen to, so I really appreciate that you listen to mine. All right, guys, I will talk to you next time. Remember, have a good day, good year, good universe, good whatever, and survive out there. Do. Bye.